Okay, so I've started the recording. So we were discussing about caches. So we continue with the caches. If you have any doubts, feel free to. So I'll just give a recap of what we were discussing. So we said that the CPU generates an address. When the CPU generates an address, okay. So the cache is let's say this is 8 bytes. So we clubbed 2 bytes together and made it a cache block. So the number of bytes that this cache can hold is 8 bytes. I have clubbed 2 bytes together and made I'm referring to them as a cache block. So initially, when I didn't have initially when I when the initial design, what I was doing is the CPU generates an address. When the CPU generates an address, I take the first few bits, that is tag, and then the index, sorry, offset. The number of bits in the offset is equal to the so power offset is equal to the number of bytes in the block. In this case, there were 2 bytes, so the offset number of bits in the offset is 1. So the CPU was generating 8-bit address. So the remaining 7 bits is the tag. So when the CPU generated the address, I searched all the 8 in parallel, and if the tag is a hit, I use the offset to read a particular byte. So if it is 0, I read the first byte. If it is 0, I read the first byte. If it is 1, then I read the second byte. So this is how I was doing it. But you can see that the power consumption is pretty high because I have to search all of them, all of the 4 in parallel, not just power consumption, even the cycle count will be higher because the access time is higher because of the way the comparators and the mux are designed. I would need a larger mux so to feed in all the output. So I said I will have a set-based design where I will divide up the given blocks. Now I will only talk about in terms of blocks. This is also referred to as cache lines in literature. So I will only talk about cache blocks from now on, not bytes wise, but each cache block, you should remember that is made up of a byte. CPU will still generate request for a particular byte. It might say this byte and maybe 4 bytes from then particular byte. It will not generate an address for a bit. If it has to do a bit manipulation, it will happen at the ALU level. So the CPU will generate bit dealing with a byte, and I am just clubbing these bytes into blocks because I don't want to go to the main memory every time a CPU requests for a byte. And I know that there is spatial locality. So now I have clubbed this into blocks. I will be talking about blocks. So there are 4 blocks in the system. And I divide the 2 blocks into set 0 and the other 2 blocks into set 1. And now when the CPU or when the address is generated, irrespective from the memory or from the CPU, I say that the 6 bits are the first I calculate the number of bits in the offset. The number of bits in the offset is 1 because each block is having 2 bytes. So I have to differentiate between the first byte and the 0th byte. If the number of bytes in the block were 4, then I would have 2 bits in the offset. So I have 1 bit in the offset and I calculate the number of bits in the index. In this case, since there are 2 sets, I have to differentiate between set 0 and set 1, which means that I need 1 bit to differentiate between the sets. So I use 1 bit for the index. So 1 bit for the index, 1 bit for the offset. So it is 8 minus 2, that is 6 bits. So the remaining bits are referred to as tag. So how do I do this? When the CPU generates an address, I store only the tag here because I don't need to store the index or the offset because index is what I use to come to this particular set. If the index is 0, only then I'll come here. If the index is 1, I'll come here. So if any address I've stored here, it means that the index is 1. Any address I've stored here means that the index is 0. So there's no doubt in that. And I don't need to store the offset because I know that the offset is encapsulated here. And so when the CPU generates an address, I plug out I initially use the index bits, go to a particular set. So if the index bit is 0, then I power up only these 2 blocks in the cache or these 2 tag arrays in the cache and search these 2 in parallel, not 4 in parallel, but only 2 in parallel. And if with using the tags, if the tag matches here, then let's say it matched here, then I use the offset bit and read the particular byte. Since it is 0, I will read the 0th byte. So first I use the index bits to go to a particular set, use the tag bits to feed it into the comparator to search for the tag. If it is a hit, then I will use the offset bit to read the particular byte. If it is a miss, then I go to the main memory, fetch in multiples of 2 because I have 2 bytes block, and use the index bits. Again, I can use the index bits to store in the respective thing. So if this was a miss, I would store only here or here. There are only two ways for this block to be stored. So that's why it's called a two-way associative cache. This is a fully associative cache because I can store the block anywhere in the cache. I can store either in first location, second location, third location, or fourth location. That's why it's called a fully associative cache. This is called a two-way associative cache because I have two locations where I can store this block. That's why it's called a two-way associative cache. The other extreme is called a direct map cache, which means that there is only one location for the particular byte to be stored, which means that this should be divided into 4 sets. The number of bits in the offset and in the index will be 2 bits here, not 1 bit. And it's only one location to go. It's called the direct map cache. So if you actually look at the diagram of the address bits, it looks something like this. I have tag, index, and I have tag, index, and offset. If it is a fully associative cache, which means that the number of the number of sets is equal to 1 because the entire cache is considered as a set, which means that the block can be stored in any part of the cache. So the number of bits in the offset is 0, so there is no offset bit. I have to search the entire cache. So that's called a fully associative cache. So the number of bits in the index is 0. If it's a two-way, then maybe I have 1 bit here, taking the example previously. So this is the index bits. If it's a direct map cache, then there are 2 bits in the index. So this keeps moving right and left depending on whether it's a fully associative cache or a direct map cache. So in the direct map cache, this index bit is 2. So I have the offset tag index. I hope this is clear. Please answer. If you have any questions, I can take the questions now, or we will move forward and see what else can be done. Okay. Yeah, please wake up. I think only few people are answering the poll. Have to go and have some coffee and come. Okay, so now we have seen this. I will ask a question so that you will wake up. Let's say my cache size is 8 kilobytes. Block size is 64 bytes. And the associativity is 2, which means that it's a two-way associative cache. Can you tell me the number? And the CPU generates a 32-bit address. So this is the problem. This is a classic problem generally people ask. Of course, not numbers, I'm just making it up, but generally somewhere around this ballpark figure they'll ask. Can you tell me the number of bits in the tag, index, and offset? Please take 2-3 minutes. If you already figured out the answer, don't say it now. Just take 2-3 minutes. As I said, I know that everybody is Kuntala Devi here, but please take a pen and paper and work it out. You have to tell me what's the tag number of bits in the tag, number of bits in the index, number of bits in the offset. Okay, did anybody find an answer?
So offset is 6 bits.
Okay.
Index is also 6 bits.
Okay.
And tag is 20 bits.
I don't know the answer. In offset is of course 6 bits. Did everybody find the answer? I mean, did everybody get the same answer? Rupashri?
Yes, sir.
Do you find the answer, madam? Don't know the question?
Okay, read the question, sir.
Okay. So did you understand till here? Forget about the question. Did you understand till here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the cache size is 8 kilobytes. The block size is 64 bytes. No, forget about this question. Let's say I write the cache size is 8 bytes. Okay. Block size is 2 bytes. Associativity is 2, and the CPU generates an 8-bit address. Can you tell me how many bits are there in the tag, index, and offset? So how do I do this? So first, what do I find out? So do I find out the tag, index, or offset? Yeah, wake up, madam, wake up. Harish Pradyot,
Yes, sir.
can you tell me how many bits are there in the offset, index, and associativity? Tag in this particular question.
So one second.
Okay. Can you tell me how many bits are there in the offset by looking at this?
So first step should be finding the number of blocks, right? Then we have to partition to 2 because like if we get one set, we have to go to
Yeah, but before that
Two
you have to figure out the offset. Right? Offset is very easy to calculate. Why? What is offset telling you? So
which of the two also like which among the two blocks which address do we need?
No. Offset is telling me in a given block, in a given cache block, whether I am
Which
reading
is-
the 0th byte or the first byte. Right?
Yes, sir.
So how many bytes are there in this block?
Okay. Yeah, only one.
Only one, right?
I mean only one offset.
So offset is 1. Okay. So I figured out the offset. Okay. And can I look at the associativity and say that the index is 1 bit because there are two, the associativity is 2?
Yes, sir.
No, think about it. I cannot look at the associativity and say that.
No.
So what should I calculate to figure out how many bits I need in the index? So can I just use index is equal to log base 2 associativity?
No.
Can I do this?
No, sir.
No, right? So I can't do this.
You have to find how many blocks are there, then in each set how many blocks will come then.
No, do you want to figure out how many blocks are there in the set, or do you want to figure out something else? So
for each set how many blocks will come that?
No, right? See, once you go to a particular set, you search in all the blocks in that set. Right? So once you go to the particular set, you search in all. See, here when you came, when the CPU started searching, did you differentiate between this block and this block? No, you searched both of them in parallel. Right?
Yes, sir.
Now, what is the index bit telling me? So what is the index bit telling me?
Which set the address belongs to?
Yes, which set the address belongs to.
Yeah.
Which means that what should I figure out first?
Okay, how many sets are there?
Yeah, how many sets are there, right? Yeah, these 9 o'clock classes are really, people are sleeping. Number of sets. So what is the number of sets here? How do you figure out the number of sets?
Two-way associative, so it's 2 sets. Right?
No, right? Two-way associativity alone will not give me this, right? So to calculate number of sets, what should I first calculate? Number of blocks in the cache. So how do I calculate the number of blocks?
So I just divide 8. Right?
Cache size.
Right? Yeah, cache size by block size.
By block size. So now I have 4. Number of blocks is 4. Associativity is 2. Right? So number of sets is what?
2, right?
How did you get 2? So you are
Like-
now clubbing 2 blocks together
Yeah.
as a set. So what do I do?
Block base. I mean, yeah. Okay.
So number of sets is how much?
2.
So number of bits in the offset,
Offset
index
is
how much?
1.
So
Index is 1.
One.
Offset is also. Yeah.
Offset is 1. So how many bits are there in the tag?
So 6.
8 minus 1 minus 1. So 6. So can everybody try the same thing for this? Ravichandra,
Yes, sir.
did you find the answer, sir?
Trying.
How many bits are there in the offset for in this particular example?
Means 6.
6. How did you get 6? That's good. How did you get 6? Offset is log base 2
Yes, sir. 2
block
power.
size. Right? So you get 6 bits. 2 power 6 is 64. So offset is 6 bits. Okay. So that is anyway figured out. So now how do I calculate the number of bits in the index? So first I have to figure out what? What should I figure out? So what did I figure out here? Number of blocks. So how many blocks are there in the cache? That is the cache size, 8 kilobytes, divided by block size, 64. So what is this? 2 power 3 into 2 power 10 divided by 2 power 6. Right? So 2 power 13 divided by 2 power 6. So how much is it?
2 power 7.
2 power 7. So number of blocks is 2 power 7. So number of blocks is 2 power 7. Offset is anyway 6 bits. So now what do I find out? So
Number of
did I find
sets.
out? Number of sets. So what is number of sets?
Number of
It's 2 power
blocks.
7 associativity. Right?
Yes,
It is
sir.
2 power 6. So how many bits are there in the index? 6 bits. Right? So I have 6 bits in the index, 6 bits in the offset. How many bits are there in the tag? 32 minus 6 minus 6. 20 bits.
20.
So what is the CPU actually doing? If given a 32-bit address, so if you have to visualize this particular thing, given a 32-bit address, right, given a 32-bit address, this is the offset, this is the index, this is the tag. So it is using the index, and the cache is something like this. So the cache looks something like this. So there are this, how many sets are there? 2 power 6 sets are there, right? So I have 64 sets. So I have some 64 sets like this. Or maybe I can write it. So these are all my sets. Each set has two-way associativity. So each set has 2 blocks to be stored. Each block has 64 bytes. So this is the 0th byte, first byte, second byte, third. So when the CPU generates an address, it will use the index to pick an set. So it can be either this set or this set or this set. Let's say the CPU picked this particular set. Now if the CPU picked this particular set, you use the tag to search in both, you search both tags. If it is a hit, you use the offset to read the particular byte. The offset is 6 bits, which means that it will differentiate between these 64 bytes and it will pick the particular byte. So this is how it works. Is this clear? Yeah, can you tell me if this is clear? Yeah, think about it. You might get doubts. Okay. Okay. So since it is clear, I will write down the formula. I just didn't want to write down this formula before because this is not actually a formula. You can always define. So the way to handle such problems is first you find the offset, number of bits in the offset, that is log of base 2 to the number of the block size, and 2 power index is equal to cache size by block size. That's what we were doing. This is just a formula. If you, but don't by heart this formula. There is nothing in this because you can always derive the way it is derived. And number of bits in the tag is equal to address minus index minus offset. So that's how you get the number of bits in the offset, index, and tag. All you're doing is dividing the cache size by block size. So you'll get the number. So this particular thing will give you the number of blocks in the cache. You're dividing it by associativity because you are grouping those blocks into a particular set because they will be treated as one set. So if I have 100 people and I club 2 of them together, how many pairs I have to do 100 by 2. If I have 100 people, if I club 4 of them together and I ask how many pairs of 4 people are there, then you do 100 divided by 4. So similarly, you are doing very well associative. Okay, I hope this is clear. So we will go forward. The other topic that we wanted to discuss today is there are 4 important C's in computer computer architecture. So what are these C's? These C's represent cache misses. So now I have a CPU. It is generating addresses. I have these. I will not write the tag and data as separate. Let's assume that there is a tag tagged along with it, and this is the main memory. Now, when the CPU generates an address, the question I ask is, when can it when will it not find the block? When will it not find the when will it not find the cache? So can anybody tell me when will the when the CPU generated the address, when will it not find the cache block? When it is not there. But right, if it's not there, you will not find that particular cache block. But when do you think that the cache block will not be there in the cache? So can you give me a scenario where the cache block will not be there in the cache? Let's say the CPU has generated an address 0x3e. Let's say the CPU has generated an address 0x3e, and maybe this block, let's say the CPU has generated some address and the block address that you are searching is 0x3. You came to the cache and the block that you are referring to with the tag 0x3 is not in the cache. When do you think such a scenario can exist? So when will you not find that block? Come on, just any answer is fine. There are 4 C's, right? So at least 1 C you should be able to pick it up. When will you not find the block in the cache?
Sir, if it's the first time and earlier
right.
when we are loading something, if it wasn't
Yes,
like
right.
previously loaded, then
Yeah, right. So when I'm actually accessing the address, so when I am accessing the address for the first time, I will not. Yeah, go ahead.
Also, when all the blocks are filled in the set.
Yeah. So yeah, first I'll come to that next. So if I'm accessing the address for the first time, I will not find that block in the cache. So this is called.
What if while taking the continuous memory, you take that address as well?
So this address that I am talking about is a block address. So I'm no longer talking about a byte address.
Oh,
Just
sorry,
keep it
sir. Yes,
simple.
sir. Understood.
So this is just a block address. So I'm just asking, when will this be a miss? When will this block address be a miss? When I'm talking about block address, I'm actually talking about the tag. So when I'm accessing the address for the first time, when the cache block is being accessed for the first time, I will not find that block. So this is called compulsory, because it's compulsory. There is no way that the cache would have gone ahead, and there's no way for this girl to go forward to the main memory and keep that block in the cache, because the CPU hasn't even started running anything. Of course, these days, not just these days, there are ways to overcome this, but of course, we will not be seeing that in this course. But this is called compulsory or cold start miss, because I'm starting, it's like starting the engine, right? So this is the first C. This is the first C of the miss. So the other thing that somebody was saying was, can you tell me again? Somebody was answering this.
Yes, sir. When all the blocks are filled in that set.
Yeah. So when I have used up the cache, right. When I have used up the cache, why will it be a miss? I mean, I might have brought it long back before, right? So why will it be a miss?
When it will be overwritten.
Yeah, so when it's overwritten, right? So this is called capacity miss. This is the second C. So this is called a capacity miss. But I will make a statement, let me know why it is true. The capacity mix, measuring a capacity miss of a cache makes sense only in a fully associative cache. It doesn't make sense if it's a direct map cache or a two-way associative cache or an eight-way associative cache. I can measure how many capacity misses are there in the cache that I have designed only if I use a fully associative cache. Why is it so?
So because in case of the associative ones, you have to see whether the set is used up and not the whole cache.
Yes, right. So it might be like this. Yeah, please wake up. Right. So I might have two sets, like set 0 and set 1. Maybe the only I'm bringing always a block here. I brought block 1 here, block 2 here. Let's say the CPU generated an address B1. Okay, it generated an address for B1. So I went to the main memory. It was a cold miss. It was a compulsory miss. So I could not do anything. I brought it and kept the block in the cache. And somehow that address made sure that I am going to the set 0. Then it generated an address block 2, then I kept it here. Then it generated an address B3. Unfortunately, that also came into set 0. So I removed one of the blocks, maybe I removed B1. So maybe I removed B1 and kept B3 here. Now the CPU generated an address B1. Now first the CPU generated B1, then B2, and then again B3, and then B1. Right? So this B1 is a miss. This B1 was also a miss, but this is a compulsory miss. But this is a capacity. This is not a capacity miss. Why? Because if I had considered a fully associative cache, what would I have done? Let's say there was this no demarcation like this. Then I would have kept B1 here, B2 here, B3 here, which means that if the CPU had generated B1, it would have been a hit in the cache. So I can measure a capacity miss only in a fully associative cache. Let's say I am assuming a fully associative cache. Let's say my cache is this. I'm assuming a fully associative cache. The CPU generated B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, and then B1. Right. So then first I brought B1, then B2, then B3, then B4. And since it brought B5, I removed this and kept B5 here. When the CPU generated B1, this is a miss in the cache, because I have utilized the capacity of the cache completely. There is no way that I could have stored B1. So this is a capacity miss. But in the case of this, it is not a capacity miss, because I could have stored here. I am not able to store it because of the way I have designed my architecture. The CPU did not say, please design the architecture in such that there are two sets. You as an architect, as a cache architect, came up with a two-set architecture. Maybe because you wanted to reduce the power, maybe you wanted to increase the access, decrease the access time. Maybe for any number of reasons you would have done it. but it is not a miss. Actual miss, it's not an actual capacity miss. But capacity miss can be measured only in a fully associative cache. So that is important for you to understand. Capacity miss can be measured only in a fully associative cache. So can you tell me how will you decrease the number of capacity misses? Can you tell me a suggestion where I can decrease the capacity misses?
Can compiler do it by knowing what will be the block address we will generate, and then somehow make a way to override those values which won't be used?
Let's say, okay, I have not yet talked about replacement policy. Let's say the compiler cannot do that. And I'm always removing the least recently used. In this case, the least recently used was B1 because this was accessed at t is equal to 0. This was t is equal to 1. This is at t is equal to 2. This is at t is equal to 3. This is at t is equal to 4. So when I brought this B5 block, I saw which has the least time and I removed that. But there's a very easy way to reduce the capacity misses. Can you tell me how can I reduce?
Decrease the number of sets.
Decrease the number of
Sets.
Man, there is only one set, right? See, I can declare, I can define, or I can understand capacity misses only in a fully associative cache. And the number of sets in a fully associative cache is 1. So I cannot decrease the number of sets. I mean, that doesn't even, I can't even measure capacity misses. If I decrease the number of sets, then the number of sets will become 0. It means that there's no cache at all.
So decreasing the size of the block might help capacity misses.
Excellent. So I can decrease the size of the block, one answer. But you guys are missing the obvious answer. So which means that you guys are not awake because it's 9 o'clock. What's the so if the bus is full, then what do you do?
Another bus.
Increase
Another
the
bus.
cache size.
Yeah, just increase the cache size, right? So the easiest way to tackle a capacity miss is increase the cache size. So you just increase the cache size. If you increase the cache size, the number of capacity misses go down, right? So instead of having 8 kilobyte cache, have a 16 kilobyte cache. Then the capacity misses just reduced by half, right? Or some number. So the only way, the easiest way to reduce the capacity misses is by increasing the cache size. Why? Let's say instead of having 4 blocks, I had one more here, right? I had one more, I have increased the capacity of the cache. So which means that instead of removing B1 and keeping B5, this B1 would have been still here. I would have kept B5 here. And when the CPU generated B1, it would have been a hit and not a miss because I've increased the cache size. So that's the easiest way out to decrease the number of capacity misses. Are you guys following? Yeah, I understand that these concepts are new, but once they are introduced to you, you will never forget in your life because these are like really interesting and funny concepts also sometimes. At least sometimes find them really interesting. So this is the second miss. Can you guess
But
what
sir,
is it?
Once cache is developed, how can we increase it?
Yeah, I can't do it. So again, what do I do? So can you tell me what would you do if you're an architect? So what would you do? Like, what are you doing now?
We can make a size which is like optimal.
No, how do you figure out the optimal size? So do you manufacture the chip?
We can like take data from all the what kind of numbers will come.
Okay, so you take the data, right? So you take the data, but what will you do with the data?
So we can simulate the process.
Yes, right. So you can just build a simulator. First, start with 8 kilobyte cache, run the data, and see how many capacity misses are there. Then you increase the cache size, figure out how many capacity misses are there. Of course, if I just increase the cache size, then if I make the cache really, really huge, then the access time goes up, right? Why does the access?
Cost.
Yeah, also the cost, not just the cost. Like let's say instead of having 4 blocks, I have 30 blocks. Then either I have to use the index bits to figure out among so many sets, or I have to search all the 30 in parallel, which means that I am penalizing the hit time. Right? So I'm penalizing the time it takes to actually read the data from the cache. So I will plug in all those parameters in the simulator. I will figure out what is the best optimal way And then, of course, there will always be budget constraints, not just budget in the terms of money, it will also be on the chip area, because that is real estate area, right? The chip itself is real estate, so I cannot just keep doubling the cache size. So then I run it on the simulator. If I have convincing numbers, maybe I'll take a decision. Of course, it's not as straightforward as that, but generally that's how things go forward. Of course, people no longer figure out the cache sizes by simulating. They do a lot more complex designs using the simulator. So that's what you will be designing in your third phase of the project. You'll actually be building a cache simulator and attaching it to your current simulator. I will be posting that assignment, the project by Saturday sometime. Okay, so that is the capacity miss. So can you guess what is the third kind of miss? So this you already saw. We already discussed this third kind of miss.
A set is complete and like the same tag bits come and then we have to. What's that?
Okay, what's that? What do you think?
Like we didn't consider that, right? I mean, till now.
Yeah. But what will you name that? Like if you had to name it and you want to start it with C so that it looks good, what will you?
Partial capacity miss.
No, right, not capacity, because capacity is when the cache is full and you need fully associated cache.
Yeah, but I said partial. Okay, I have no idea.
It's called conflict miss. And conflict mix makes sense only in a direct map cache or a two-way associative cache or an n-way associative cache. It does not make sense. There are no conflict misses in a fully associative cache. So why does conflict miss arise? Let's say I'll take the same example. I have 4 blocks, right? But I have divided them into 2 sets. Now the same addresses have come. So maybe I have kept block 1 here, block 2 here, and then block 3 came. Right? So I removed block 1 here and kept block 3 here. And I kept block 3 here. Then the CPU generated an address for block 1. This is a miss. This is not a compulsory miss, right? Because I have already seen this address. This is a compulsory miss, but this is not a compulsory miss. This is not a capacity miss because I am not considering fully associative cache, and I am convinced myself that only if it's a fully associative cache, then capacity misses make sense. There is a conflict in the address. Why? Because of the way you are taking the index bits. So there is a conflict in the address. So there was block 1 address, block 2 address. There is a conflict between block 3 and block 1. That's why block 3 kicked out block 1. Even though there was empty space here and here, you kicked out the block. So this is a conflict miss. So this is the third C. So the conflict mix makes no sense in a fully associative cache. There are no conflict misses in a fully associative cache. Is this clear? Okay, I don't know why you guys are not active today.
Sir, can you explain this conflict miss again?
Okay. So did you understand the compulsory miss and capacity miss?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's say I have designed a cache which has something like this. There are 4 blocks that I can store in the cache, and I divided them into 2 sets. This is set 0 and this is set 1. The CPU generates addresses like this. It generates the address for block 0, then block 1, then block 2, then block 3. Or even block 2 and then block 3. Right? So now I have to keep them in the cache. So when the CPU generated B0, is this a hit or a miss? Is it a hit or a miss?
Miss, compulsory miss.
Compulsory miss, right? So this is a compulsory miss. So I can't do anything about it. So it's a compulsory miss. This is also a miss. Why? Because I haven't seen this address anytime before. So this is also a miss. So this is also a compulsory miss. So I keep B1 here. Then I see the address B2. This is also a compulsory miss. And let's say B0 mapped to set 0. B1 also mapped to set 0. B2 also mapped to set 0. Now I brought B2 into the cache and I have to remove either this block or this block. I use the least recently used policy, which means that whatever was least recently used, I will pick out. So I will remove B0 and keep B2 here. Right? So this is also a miss. So all 3 were compulsory misses. Now when B0 is generated again, it is a miss. Why? Because B0 is no longer there because I had removed that and kept B2 in place of B0. Now this is a miss. Is it a capacity miss? No, right? Because I still have empty locations here. If it was not a, if this was not a so a two-way associative cache, this would not have been a miss because I would have. So how would it have looked if it was not a two-way associative cache? It would have looked something like this. I would have kept B0 here, B1 here, B2 here. Then if the CPU had generated B0, it would have been a hit. But since I am considering a two-way associative cache, this B2, B0 is a miss. So it is not a capacity miss, but it's a conflict miss. And why is it a conflict miss? Because there was a conflict in this set, in a given set, there was a conflict between block 0 and block 2. That's why I picked out block 0 and kept B2 in that position. So when the CPU actually generated the address B0, it was a miss. So this is called a conflict miss. So conflict, there will be no conflict misses in a fully associative cache, but there will be conflict misses in a direct map cache, in a two-way associative cache, in a four-way associative cache. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so can you tell me what kind of cache structure will have the highest conflict misses?
Set equals to block.
Yeah, the direct map cache. So it's called direct map cache. You have only one position to go. The block has only one way to go. So it's a direct map. So the number of conflict misses will be highest in the direct map cache. Can you tell me a way to reduce the conflict misses?
Reduce number of sets.
Reduce number of sets. Yes. Yeah, you're saying increase the associativity.
Yes, sir.
So if I increase the associativity, the conflict misses go down. But if I increase the associativity, what will increase?
The time, the power to search in a.
Yeah, right. So now you are in no man's land, right? So if I increase the associativity, the time to search will increase because I have to search larger number of locations. If I decrease the associativity, then the hit time is fastest, but the conflict misses are pretty high. So what will you choose?
A trade-off, like we will try some different values.
So there is a fourth thing. Of course, we will see exact formula. So there is a fourth thing called coherence misses, which you will not mostly be seeing in this particular course, which will be in computer architecture. This is becoming very important in the modern day world because coherence misses are not present in a single core machine, but any multi-core machine, whether it's a dual core, quad core, octa core, any machine, there are a lot of coherence misses, and people are breaking their head to reduce the coherence misses. So maybe I will try to get you an introduction to coherence misses, but we will not be going into detail because this is an advanced computer architecture. Okay.